A new storm system is expected to bring the return of severe weather chances across the country over the next several days or so. Here to discuss that and get very detailed on everything we know. After that, we'll give you an update on the tropics. There continues to be a couple areas that we're watching out there in the Atlantic. Nothing to be concerned about whatsoever, but we will give you updated information on that. And then after that, we'll go over today's weather across the entire lower 48. And then we got you a Bible devotion for the very end of the video if you want to join us for that. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. Let's make sure this is going to work. And it is, so we're good to go. So let's start off by looking at the water vapor loop. And we haven't started the video off by showing you guys this in quite some time. If you've been tuning in for a while, you know we used to start off all these videos off by showing you guys this. But here we are, and I think it shows the pattern and this storm system very well. The pattern in place, I should add here. So if you look right here, we got a dip, and then it kind of shoots up like this over the western areas of the country with a little spin right here. And this is our storm system affecting areas of really California. It's bringing a lot of moisture, kind of an upper level low, slinging a lot of moisture up against the Sierra Nevada, bringing a lot of heavy snowfall in the lower elevations, a lot of rain, wind, and there's even going to be a bit of a severe weather threat across areas of Southern California today because of this. Even a tornado risk across like LA and surrounding areas. I'm going to speak on that as we go. But if you look at this, all the flow, of course this indicates moisture on this output, goes up here and then it kind of dives down here and kind of swings across like this. So we're getting a bit of a what we call a return flow from basically behind this low pressure right here across areas of the eastern states. This is bringing kind of a flow of dry air down into like the eastern states, especially east of the Appalachian Mountains. So, you know, everybody kind of right in here is getting, just a lot of warmer than average air right now because you have this ridge flexing over the area. So you continue to deal with the warmer than average temperatures across this region. But you got a dip in the jet here, storm system associated with it, and then it kind of swings back down right here. So this is the main player right here that we're going to discuss that's going to steadily move this general direction over the next few days and bring us maybe a multi-day risk of severe weather, but we're specifically watching one day, which is Saturday, but we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here. So just kind of want to show you guys what's going on right now. We move forward. I think that the actual radar shows a great representation of what's actually going on right now. And you notice that I was drawing an arrow going just like this. And if you look at all the moisture out here, rain, some of this is actually snow falling, and some of the higher elevations, not over here, but more so over the Rockies and the Sierra Nevada. But if you look, the moisture is kind of going southwest to northeast, and that makes sense based off the dip in the jet and the flow associated with it from southwest to northeast. Hopefully I don't get my directionals mixed up here at all. But you can see the moisture, and that kind of goes with what we're going to discuss going forward over the next several minutes or so. So just kind of want to show you guys, I always like to show y'all what exactly is going on right now and compare it to what could happen over the next few days or so. So next thing we'll look at is the 500 millibar jet. So this is flow in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, about 18,000 feet up in the air, and this is in knots. But what I really just want you to focus in on is you see these areas in purple. This is just higher flow. Stronger winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere. And let's just keep it at that for now, right? We'll get a little bit more detailed on how strong the flow is, mile per hour wise, knots wise, as we get a little bit closer to this actual event. So this is starting off this morning. And if I kind of go back and look at the wider vapor loop, which I'm not, it makes sense compared to what the Euro is saying is happening right now. We got this dip just like that, and it's going just like that with a lot of flow right into here going southwest to northeast. So we continue to move this forward, and as this storm system and this dip in the jet kind of progresses west to east, all of our weather will move west to east. So we continue to move forward. Of course, we don't have a lot of deep moisture across the western areas of the country with just higher elevations and stuff like that. But as we move into Wednesday, tomorrow, all this flow begins to shift across basically the Rockies, right? And the storm system itself is moving across the western U.S. And then we get into Thursday. Thursday is kind of a day, I would say day one, we need to watch out for severe weather chances. Nothing too crazy, I don't think, for Thursday, as we kind of lack deep moisture across the middle of the country. But you see this flow, we might as well just call it kind of south to north flow, but southwest to northeast flow right across the middle of the country. Is this flow right here overlapping any very moist air? We'll show you that here in a second. But then as we get into Friday, the evolution of this storm system kind of shifts as the main sort of upper low piece kind of ejects up here into southern areas of Canada. But we got a lot of flow right over the middle of the country right here. But is there any kind of deep moisture? We'll show you that here in a second. And then as we progress into Saturday, okay, kind of a new dig in the jet develops. And we just have an all-out dip right here with a lot of flow associated right into here. So this is Saturday. This is the real big day of interest, as we have, I know I keep saying it, but a lot of flow in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere riding across, let's draw on this a little bit, riding across this region right here. Up here, I know you're thinking, well, what about this region up here? Well, this is kind of a downward flow. So this is bringing a lot of dry, cool air behind it. Right here is kind of the middle ground where you have a lot of flow in the upper levels of the atmosphere, kind of overlapping a moist air mass, which is what I'm about to show you. Now, if we, keep this going forward here and we move into, say, Sunday, and this is getting kind of past our main day, I think there could be some severe weather chances across the eastern states, or just at least a big wind, not a biggie wind event, but a lot of wind energy in the atmosphere. And when I say flow, another fancy term for this is kinematics. It's kind of a fancy terminology in the weather world anyways. You got kinematics and thermodynamics. Kinematics is the wind energy in the atmosphere. Thermodynamics is your moisture, your surface temperatures, your Cape levels, storm fuel, lapse rates, things like that. But as we're getting to Sunday, this storm system moves in, and we got a lot of flow across the eastern U.S. We have a lot of moisture, though. Okay, and speaking of moisture, because I keep bringing that up, all right, and I'm going to back this up to Saturday because we're going to come back to this graphic. This is Saturday afternoon, the big day we want to watch right across this area. Okay, now we move it to dew points. Okay, when you get dew points in the 60s and 70s, that's really an ingredient, a thermodynamic that really supports severe weather. 50s and lower, too dry. Okay, for the most part, not always, but a lot of times. But as we're starting to get into, say, Thursday, we got some moist air building all the way up to the Canadian-U.S. border, even a pocket of dew points in the 60s showing up here in the upper Midwest, but nothing too crazy right into here, which is our main area of interest. Okay, then we get into Friday. Moisture gets a little bit deeper. Kind of the area is a little bit slender also. It's kind of scrawnier, smaller, if you will, skinnier. All right, so we got some deeper moistures and kind of pockets here and there surging all the way into the upper Midwest. All right, we got dew points in the 50s and even some 60s into here. So do we have any of those better wind energy, the kinematics in the atmosphere overlapping this field of moist air at the surface? But it's really Saturday that we're really watching here. This is Saturday afternoon. You got this pocket of deep moisture for mid-October standards right into here. Okay, this is dew points, even in the 70s down here in areas of Texas, Louisiana, southern Arkansas, but dew points widespread in the 60s all the way in this entire yellow area right here. Okay, so this is really the area to watch. Now, is that being overlapped by those better kinematics, wind energy, flow in the upper levels of the atmosphere? It absolutely is. They're overlapping each other almost perfectly. So you look at, the purple right here, this is 45 to 65 knots of mid-level flow. What about that lower level jet that really shows us how much of a wind threat and tornado threat we could potentially have with the directional and just the directional shear? How much turning with height? How much does the air really rotate the higher up you get, and does it do it in a short amount of space? We'll get more into that as we get closer to the event. But definitely some wind energy. And this is the main thing you look at this far out, overlapping deep moisture right into here. Now we start to get into that Sunday, right, that we're watching also across the rest of the eastern U.S. There's some deep moisture down here across the southeast. Could be a very moist day Sunday. 60s in the dew point, 70s. I mean, that's very moist air, but what about your kinematics, right? Your wind energy. And let's bump this up so we can see that Zulu time here. And yeah, there's some wind energy down here at the bottom edge of this jet. So we want to watch Sunday for a severe weather threat too. So what is the Storm Prediction Center saying about this? Well, this is for Wednesday, for tomorrow. We already have a risk of severe weather, okay, right at the front end of this dip in the jet right here across the high plains, and then there's a section down here across New Mexico. Just a marginal risk, nothing too crazy. Day 3, which is for, this is Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. Yeah, today's Tuesday, tomorrow Wednesday. Yeah, Thursday. So we do have another area of severe weather chances that could be there across kind of the central high plains, eastern Colorado, western Kansas. Nothing too crazy at all. The evolution of this system sort of changes. Kind of almost becomes a new system as we get about the mid to later portion of this work week. And then we look at day 4, which is Friday. Right now, nothing's showing up, but I could see some sort of severe weather chances, I don't know, maybe up into here, but we'll watch. Right now, there could be a marginal risk. I think there will at least be a marginal risk for Friday, but marginal risk does not show up past day 3. But it's really day 5. They had this up yesterday. We have a 15% risk of severe weather. This is basically a slight risk, level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather already at day 5, which is for Saturday, across this area. Basically, the Mississippi Valley area really points west, So if we zoom in on this area, this includes St. Louis. This includes over to Evansville, back to Jefferson City, Columbia, Missouri, all the way down to Paducah. Good chunk of Missouri. Memphis includes Jackson, western areas of Tennessee, all the way down to Greenwood, Mississippi, down the Mississippi Delta area. This includes Little Rock. This includes Texarkana, Shreveport, northern areas of Louisiana, and includes northeastern sections of Texas, Longview, Mount Pleasant, Tyler. We zoom this back out a little bit. Fayetteville, Bentonville, Fort Smith, McAllister, Springfield, Missouri, all the way up in the southern areas of Illinois, and a very small section, it looks like, yes, of southwest Indiana, which does include Evansville. So 15% risk of severe weather in this area. So they're already sniffing this one out, okay? Now, we're not in short-range model guidance, right? We're just looking at the Euro. So what does the Euro show? Well, if we look at Friday, and we'll focus on the days before and the days after a little bit more as we get closer. But I really want to look at Saturday. But as we're getting into Friday night, you can already see some thunderstorms bubbling up here in Iowa, areas of Missouri, and Kansas. But as we're starting to get into Saturday morning, as always with the day of any kind of severe weather event, how is the morning storm and convection rain activity ongoing? How can that sort of mess up the ingredients trying to come together for the afternoon evening event? But as we're starting to get into Saturday, you can see just blobs of green, yellow, orange, red, all throughout here, indicating just showers and storms. Whether or not these will be strong to severe, will this be more of a linear threat, straight line of storms, or are we going to get supercells? Obviously, that increases the hail threat and the tornado threat. It just remains to be seen, right? So we get into Saturday evening, just looks like a lot of storm activity cruising across this region of all the states you see on the map. And then we start to get into Sunday morning. We have to see what's going on with the leftover convection as we get into Sunday afternoon. So we'll get more detailed on that as we go. If anybody's screaming at me on the screen like, dude, what's going to happen in the eastern U.S.? I think we just need to figure out the days that we're more confident on first, and we'll figure out the other days as we go. But I think Sunday will be a severe weather day across areas of the eastern U.S. Just don't think it'll be as bad as Saturday as of now. That could change. A lot of rain could happen in this area between now and the next 7 days also. I do want to say that. 1 to 2 inches of rain. I don't anticipate any kind of major flooding event, but definitely some rain will fall in this area with a storm system, maybe multiple storm systems moving over. And as you can tell, looks pretty dry across areas of the Carolinas. And some areas are very dry. Some areas got the rain from this coastal system over the weekend, but some areas didn't get much at all. My area lucked out. I was kind of right in a happy medium zone. I got, a little over an inch of rain. So beneficial rain, but not flooding rain, but enough to kind of wet everything. But giving you an update on the tropics, we'll continue to fine-tune the severe weather threat as we go. Not to ignore the tropics, but the rest of this coastal low kind of heading off the eastern seaboard. We're not talking about that anymore. A lot of energy over the North Atlantic. And just to circle a couple things here on the map here. This is Lorenzo. Oh, I guess we got blue. That's cool. We'll use blue. We got Lorenzo right here, just a struggling tropical system that will continue to struggle. There's actually a chance this system could actually do something like this. Pretty wild, right? I don't like blue, so we're going to switch it. We're going to switch it back to pink. And then my face might be in the way, but we got this tropical wave also, which has some people talking in the weather world. And this could certainly do something like this and maybe have a chance to develop in this area way on down the road. Not sure if it will, but this is a low riding tropical wave, and I'll kind of move it down a little bit if my face is in the way. Low rider. I mean, this is real low, but we'll see if this survives. It's just kind of doing its thing right now. I don't want to talk it to death because I don't want to get anybody overly concerned in the Caribbean, but I will go over some model guidance. But this is the latest from the National Hurricane Center. This has not been labeled an area of interest, but folks, I could see over the next couple days like an X being put right here and then like an arrow kind of right through here and then maybe an area right into here over the next few days that might have a 20 to 30% chance of tropical development once this X, the tropical wave, moves into this region right here. We'll see what happens, but not very confident on that happening. But we do have Lorenzo, 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm. Look at the crazy cone that this thing has. It's going to continue to move north, then actually move back to the east, and then might kind of do a hook and lateral and then come back. But we're not concerned about it whatsoever. Let's talk about that tropical wave that I just spoke on. Right, we're going to fast forward this to this weekend, October the 18th, Saturday. Time frame up here, and this is the wave right here. I know it don't look like much of anything, but that's it. Right, so we're going to continue to move forward. Whatever is there of this energy on this specific run, you know, gets into the Caribbean, but I mean, you can barely see it, but it's this blob of moisture, tropical moisture right into here. And then we get past day 7, so we get between day 7 and day 10, that range that is always funky, right? And there's energy right into here, but it looks like it just gets kind of pushed into Central America. Now, something tries to pull north past day 10, a lot of tropical moisture, and just a lot of weird stuff happens right into here, but this is 324 hours out, so we're not overly concerned about any of that. So, you know, what you take from a 1 minute of discussing the Euro is really nothing. I mean, nothing concerning. Now, the GFS, remember the GFS has convective feedback issues, which means it likes to really blow up stuff sometimes and make it look a lot worse than what really ends up happening. So, you know, the GFS has shown that a lot. I'm not buying really anything the GFS is showing, but I hadn't even looked at the morning run. But there's that wave sneaking into the Caribbean, into the 20th, into the 21st of October, about a week from today. Eventually it does develop it, and it's probably, I can, before I even move this any more panels, I can already tell you what it's about to do. It's probably about to blow this up into a major hurricane, and that's exactly what it does. So I hadn't even looked at it yet. So this is 10 days out. Of course, you got a major hurricane scooting across the Caribbean, like not this Friday, but next Friday, and wants to really stall out and do something weird in the Western Caribbean where it's right up against Belize, the Yucatan Peninsula. But listen, I will say this, even though the GFS is wild here, if we're going to get any crazy hurricane activity, tropical activity, climate-wise, it makes sense that it's going to happen in this area. Okay? Now we need to watch anything that forms down here for it to turn north. We're almost at the end of this, guys. We almost are there. Now, what does the Euro AI model show with this wave? It's there. There's some moisture right in here as we're getting into about a week from today. And, you know, it just basically follows the Euro. It takes a tropical wave, really weak tropical system, never really develops it. The next name is Melissa, by the way, and kind of just throws it into the Central America. Okay? Now, what about the Canadian? Canadian continues to be aggressive, has an all-out tropical storm, low-end hurricane, moving into the Eastern Caribbean about 6 days from now, and then has a hurricane hitting Hispaniola or somewhere in the Greater Antilles about 8 days from now. And then it has it kind of going to the Turks Caicos Islands, but hard to take that very serious right now. And then the Icon, 1 week from today, has a weak tropical wave moving through the Caribbean. Now, what about the Euro Ensemble? Remember, this makes up 51 members. And, you know, between now and the next week, has several members. I mean, over 20. All these are weak. But what's wild is when you go from day 7 to day 10, the members that do form get quite strong. But they're really tucked deep down here in the Caribbean. So, I think this makes sense when you compare how low in latitude this wave is right now. Okay, but you do look at, say, the GFS ensemble, and then we'll have to go to the OOZ, and then we'll look at that. And the GFS ensemble is about the same. All the members that do form just about are really tucked in really deep down here in the Caribbean. So keep your eye out on this wave if you live in the Caribbean and all the bordering countries and islands and things like that. So as far as today's weather, we've already kind of showed you the radar earlier in the video, but a big storm system moving into California. Some of this green you see in the higher elevations of California to Sierra Nevada is snow. And just a lot of moisture kind of crossing over the middle of the country. Continues to be pretty warm, so none of this is snow. A little bit of leftover moisture still continues to plague areas of southern New England. It's just tough to get rid of these systems altogether when you got things kind of locking in these low pressures in place. But nothing too crazy ongoing right now. Watches, warnings, and advisories. Winter storm warnings across Sierra Nevada. Heavy snow, getting that snowpack on. Even some winter weather advisories. Some of these higher isolated mountain ranges in Nevada, things like that. And we actually have a severe thunderstorm watch. I didn't even notice that when I started this video, across areas of Southern California. Wow. In the morning too, that's crazy. Elsewhere, quiet, just big storm system moving across the western areas of the country. Today's severe weather threat, we got to watch out with LA. There is a tornado threat. There is a marginal risk across New Mexico too. But check this out. LA, right smack in the middle of a marginal risk, and you actually have a 2% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location. So be aware of that today. And then the risk of excessive rainfall, we also have a 15% risk of flash flooding. Flash flood guidance being exceeded within 25 miles in a given location. So be aware of that. And we zoom out, a little bit of a flash flooding threat across New Mexico, also Santa Fe included, Santa Rosa. So be aware of that. Elsewhere, no flooding threat. Southeast today, some pesky cloud cover across the eastern sections of North Carolina, Virginia will keep temperatures more fall-like today. Everybody else, if you break loose away from the clouds, you're going to warm up to the 70s and even low 80s in certain areas. Low humidity for the most part for everywhere. We get into this evening, really nothing to speak on. Some sprinkles or showers are possible against the southeast mid-Atlantic coastline, but that's it. The northeast will continue just to deal with some cloud cover. Some light rain showers across the big cities along the I-95 corridor. Not a high impact weather day, but just kind of, if you're a sunshine fan, not a fan of just clouds and dreary weather. I like a good dreary, cloudy day, especially in the fall every once in a while. Then, it's going to be hard to shake that across areas of the I-95 corridor of the Northeast today. But South Central U.S., some moisture will continue just to kind of funnel over areas of New Mexico. We'll get some storms across New Mexico, southern Colorado today, and some of these could pack a punch, could hit severe limits. We'll have to watch for that, especially overnight. And just some shower activity could drift into northern Kansas, southern Nebraska. And then the north central U.S., just kind of areas of light to moderate rain will continue to surge through the upper Midwest. Like this is around 5 o'clock. You're just going to have a rainy, drive home commute in Minneapolis and the southern half of Minnesota, northern areas of Iowa. And then this rain could greet you guys across Wisconsin later this evening, and just a steady moist flow. And it's just very unseasonably moist and warm across a lot of these areas right now, as we just have you're kind of sandwiched in between two different flows that support just the influx of moisture across the middle of the country, really. And in the western U.S., some snow is possible in the higher elevations of the northern Rockies, maybe some areas of showers and storms across the central Rockies, but the main show is this right here. A lot of moisture shooting across areas of the southwest, and just taking a closer look at it here. Look at that higher elevation snow. Really heavy snow falling in the higher elevations of Sierra Nevada. And just watch out, especially as we're getting later into this morning, and southern areas of California. You see this area of thunderstorms moving through? I'm telling you, don't let that catch you by surprise. It could later this morning. And then we look at everything else there. But snowfall, a lot of it up in the higher elevations of California and Nevada. I mean, feet of snow over the next 36 to 24 hours. And here's that cooler temperatures just kind of hanging around with us in New England. You get away from the cloud cover, the rain, it warms up. But you even have a pocket of cooler air across the eastern sections of Virginia and the Carolinas also. There will be a tight gradient where the cloud cover is and where it's not. When you get away from it, it's nice. Now, cooler air will greet you guys. So even though you got some moist air building into the area, you have a cooler day today compared to maybe over the last several days. So, it kind of contradicts what I was saying for the upper Midwest. But what I was saying is, if you do get kind of in Nevada, Nebraska, that don't make any sense. Nebraska, Iowa, there is a tight temperature gradient right here where you kind of get more into the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You get north of this gradient, you get into kind of some gloomy weather, 50s and 40s. But temperatures across the western U.S., this is what it's looking like. So that's all I got, guys. Let's create a timestamp here, and let's make it this, and let's do our Bible devotion. So, this morning we're in Galatians chapter 5, and we're doing verse 16 through 18. Okay? And it goes, I say then, walk by the Spirit, and you will certainly not carry out the desire of the flesh. For the flesh desires what is against the Spirit, and the Spirit desires what is against the flesh. These are opposed to each other, so that you don't do what you want. But if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. Okay? So, as always, I got a good bit of stuff with this one this morning. I said, be led by the Spirit, and you will not carry out the desire of the flesh. I want to hit on that, okay? I'll say that again. Be led by the Spirit, and you will not carry out the desire of the flesh. Scripture says carry out the desire. I think that is important because it doesn't say you won't have desires, right? You won't have them. You're going to have them. It says you won't carry them out when you have them. Okay, so I just want to know that. The Scripture obviously does not say, you're not going to have desires. It specifically says, and I know I keep repeating this, and it says you will certainly not carry out the desires. So just note that, we live on this earth. You're going to have desires of the flesh. And most of us know what desires of the flesh are. If not, well, it actually talks about this in the next verse after this, in verse 19, and just read down in Galatians chapter 5. Yeah, verse 19, and go down, and it talks about that. Okay? How do you walk by the Spirit? Make God priority number one in everything you do. This is a moment-by-moment, day-by-day journey that will require you to constantly seek the guidance of God in everything you do. One thing you do is follow His will in your life, and I can't tell you how many times we've spoken on that, right? Pray, worship, and praise. So pray to God like we do for one another on this channel, right? That's a form of glorifying God. Worship, whether that's at church, in a Bible study, whatever it may be, and or singing. Singing in your car. Got a Christian music station on, just singing your heart out. And praise. Praise Him through the storms. Praise Him when everything's going good. Right? Be thankful. Right? I said, let God lead you and stop going after your own desires. Chances are they don't align with God's will. And I say it again, chances are they don't align with God's will. Now, sometimes they do, and man, that's awesome, right? But a lot of times when we want to lead our own life, we get led astray, and then that's when the desires of the flesh can really get a hold. And listen, I want to hit on this, and this gets a little bit more serious. Right? Also, if you don't feel conflicted just before, during, or right after you carry out the desire of the flesh, then the ultimate question should be asked. And that is, have you truly given your life to Christ? Are you saved? Have you accepted that Jesus Christ died on the cross to save us from our sins? And I think that's huge. And maybe that, I don't know. I don't think it's going to step on anyone's toes. But I think that it's a legitimate thing you should ask yourself. And I can speak for myself. And listen, I'll say this. I feel at it every single day. The desires of the flesh. When I say desires of the flesh, a couple things for me would be react to things in a way I shouldn't react. Think things in a situation that I shouldn't think. Whether it comes to the surface, right? Whether it's out loud, doesn't matter, you know. Of course, it's a little bit better when you don't let it come out, right? But you know, and just how do you react to things? And listen, I tell you, I feel that every single day, every day, especially at work. I work customer service, and you know, you got to bite your tongue. But anyways, that's just an example. But man, I'm getting sidetracked. Don't do it. But okay, I'm back on track mentally. But what I mean is, you know, do you get a nag right before you're about to do something, say something, maybe feel something, maybe look at something? Do you get a nag right before doing it? Or do you just don't even think twice about it and just do it, and you don't think there's nothing wrong with it? When you're doing it, do you feel conflicted when you're doing it? And after you do it, do you really feel bad that you did it? I think that's a big question you should ask yourself. And, you know, I think some people that go to church, some people that say they're a follower of Christ, and, you know, but at the same time, deep down, maybe they question themselves whether they truly have given their life to Christ. I think that, in my opinion, is a smaller example of kind of answering that question for you. You know, when you sin, basically sum everything I just set up. When you sin, did you genuinely feel bad for it? So, of course, there's other things too, but that's just something to consider. I can say I do, and I can say I do a lot. I say this a lot. I almost feel like God. Is like a whisper in my ear, and quite literally, He probably is. And but I do feel like it's the Holy Spirit talking to me. Sometimes He's just like, don't do it, and then I do it, and then sometimes I don't. So that's all I got. God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day, and we'll do it again tomorrow morning. Have a wonderful day.